Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, it turns out the S in NCS stands for Scramble and not Switch. We're a musou game. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the announcement of Persona 5 Scramble and the Nintendo Investors Meeting. And then on Thursday, we're going to be discussing our favorite third-party games on the Nintendo Switch. But Mark, in the meantime, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling loose and limber, ready to go wherever this episode takes us.
Loosey and goosey?
Both.
So I know what a Juicy Lucy is.
Hamburger.
It's like a loose meat hamburger, right?
Oh.
Wait, why'd you say oh?
Because I guess like now the name makes sense.
Because it's juicy. How is it not a sloppy Joe, I guess is my question.
Okay, you're throwing a lot of words at me that I know and I'm like familiar with, but not necessarily in like the context of them having meaning. So wait,
you don't even know what a sloppy Joe is?
No, I know what a sloppy Joe is.
All right.
But I've never thought of it as being like named because its components are sloppy.
Yes,
but like,
yes,
okay,
you did.
Fine,
yeah,
fine,
you
fine,
did
fine,
too know
fine.
that.
That one I already knew. But like,
right.
A Juicy Lucy. What is loose meat? That doesn't sound like
loose meat sinks sheeps.
Moses supposes his toes are roses.
Why would Moses suppose? Is this supposed to be like that? They smell like roses?
Ah, yes. I would imagine that is true.
We're discovering all sorts of true things today. If you would like to discover other true things, you know what video game has a lot of truth in it? Sonic Forces. You can borrow my copy for the Nintendo Switch. All you got to do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. And then I mail it to you, and you get to play it for as long as you want.
It's as easy as that.
It's super easy.
Okay, I'm a little thrown off because I totally thought you were setting up the second thing we're about to plug.
Oh.
About you're looking for truth.
Oh, sure. I mean, we all want some truth, right? We're looking for truth. Here's a way that you can do it.
Ask us questions.
And we will tell you no lies.
Yes.
We may lie during our 250th episode spectacular.
But you won't know.
You will never know. You can email us any of your questions at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. And we're doing this next week.
That's right. So you please. I was gonna say you better get your questions in, but that's the wrong way to approach this. Please get your questions in by May 5th. Cinco de Mayo.
That's this Sunday. Get them in as soon as you can.
And that way we can record them for our 250th-ish
episode
spectacular.
That's right. And thank you already to James and Jason and Josh and Brad and Steven and Dustin who have already sent in questions, along with everyone else that we've previously thanked for sending in questions. It has been a great response. I like seeing all the questions that we have gotten so far. But I think now is when we need to start courting like some weird questions. I'm not saying that the questions that have been asked so far are like too vanilla. I am not saying that. But if anyone wanted to get crazy,
not lewd.
Not lewd. That's not this kind of show. It's not what we do. Write into us. And speaking of people who write into us, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we joked about having a bingo board. For our show.
'Cause there are certain things that happen on this show every week.
There are certain things that happen on the show,
despite our best efforts.
Well, some of them are because of our best efforts.
Oh, okay.
So James,
that's pleasant.
James sent, yeah, it is kind of. James sent us a copy of a Nintendo Cartridge Society bingo board.
That's amazing.
And I'm just gonna read off some highlights from it. I will share this on our Twitter and Facebook. But so some highlights here. Most of the Nintendo consoles make an appearance: Nintendo 64, NES, what have you. Weather is one of them.
Oh, okay.
8 o'clock. Let's get to the news. Now, this is one, let's get to the news. I feel like that's just my always transition into the news unless I forget to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, a bingo card needs that sort of thing.
Some obvious ones. Let's Get Out of the News is another one. Game Boy, Olivia Duncan, Amiibo, which we don't talk about every week, but we do talk about a lot. I Guess We'll Never Know, Reggie, Tetris 99, Improv, at gmail.com. Sorry.
At gmail.com.
And Sonic Forces, amongst others. There are a bunch of other spots on here. We will be sharing it, so you can play. You can play at home.
That's awesome. Thank you, James.
Thank you, James. I would recommend not turning this into a drinking game because we do all these things a lot.
Yeah.
And then one other thing is that we've got an email from Lizzie. Thank you, Lizzie. We're going to fold this in as part of a debug, but I'm not sure it actually qualifies as debug.
Well, and also, like, debugs hurt when it's you and I calling ourselves out. But when a listener writes in,
yeah,
then it just feels correct. It's like truth. You know, it's like Moses coming down from the mountain with the tablets. It's like,
and supposing his toes are roses.
Whoop dee doo dee doo doo.
Okay, so Lizzie says, I have some questions for you two, but firstly, I wanted a quick point of order. The gyroscope is used in many Switch games. The gyroscope in the actual Switch itself is used in many Switch games, including Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. In Breath of the Wild, you can use it to aim your arrows, as well as control the Sheikah Slate when it's in the scope mode. In Super Mario Odyssey, you can use it to look around and possess those little green telescope things. And you also use it to aim your gun in Splatoon 2.
Wait a second.
I always assumed that was the Joy-Cons.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Because you can
yes,
I don't have a Pro controller. So I always use my Joy-Cons to control every game. And so I remove the Joy-Con from the system, slide it into the Joy-Con holder, and that's how you control the gyroscope stuff.
In the little what is the thing even called?
The Joy-Con grip?
Yes, the Joy-Con.
Yeah,
Joy-Con grip.
So that's how you like use the gyroscope for Splatoon 2 or
any of those
Mario
games.
Odyssey. Yeah. And so I think the reason it works in those games in handheld mode is because the Joy-Con are attached, not because of the Switch itself.
It still doesn't answer how, if there is no gyroscope in the Switch itself, that the VR works.
Yeah.
When the Joy-Cons are
Mystery
removed.
still not 100% solved.
Which is part of the reason I wanted to bring this email up, is that we still don't know. Like, we won't get to the bottom of it. I was about to say we'll get to the bottom of this, but
maybe somebody else who does know will write in. But we're not going to like look it up.
No.
Actually, maybe I will, but I won't tell you until next week.
Right, and then you'll just present it as new information. Right?
Absolutely.
Right. And not you doing homework that you assigned yourself on air. All right, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Now, I think we've both been playing BoxBoy plus BoxGirl.
It's so good.
It's so charming. I really like this game. I've played, I think, 2 previous BoxBoy games and was excited about this game coming out, and I love it just as much as I expected to.
Me too. I previously picked up Bye Bye BoxBoy, which was the one for the last one for the 3DS. I have been playing it on my TV, which I've liked a lot.
Yes.
Because I'm old and my eyes hurt when I'm like all day I stare at screens. For work, I just stare at screens all day that are like 6 inches away from my face because I'm like a cartoon character. So it's nice to have it up on the TV and like far away. So I'm really enjoying this playing experience versus the 3DS one. I liked the 3DS game, but I'm really like digging into BoxBoy and BoxGirl in a way that I didn't with Bye Bye BoxBoy.
Well, and there's also something, I mean, especially with a puzzle game like this, where like I will be playing and then sometimes I just need to like stare at the screen for a second, and I'll just put the controller down and I'll just look at it, and I'm looking at my TV, which is a different experience than when you're holding a 3DS and you know it has like a certain battery life, and you're like, oh no, I'm kind of like wasting its battery life. Like everything about having it on the TV just feels more relaxed and kind of more tuned into what I think the pace of that game should be. So yeah, I think it's like a perfect candidate for both a console game and one that you're playing in TV mode. I also think and this may be a dumb thing to say about a game that's like graphical style is so minimalist, but it looks so great on the TV. Like having all of those shapes and like the little hints of color in like high definition really feels I don't know. It feels like a neat, immersive art experience.
One really tiny critique.
Tiny critique.
There's like a part at the very beginning, you like complete the puzzle, and then you go to wherever you are, where like all the doors to the different worlds are located, and you see like families of box people like running around.
Yeah.
Just let there be 2 boy boxes together. Or 2 girl boxes together.
Yeah, totally. Or, tell you what, let's just get rid of the concept of gender in boxes. Although I guess the name of the series is BoxBoy, so they've painted themselves into a corner here.
But that'd be a compelling iteration for a Switch sequel.
Box non-binary?
Exactly. I'd buy it.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, come on. It's 2019.
It's fine. They're boxes.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be mad.
People love other kinds of boxes now. Did I tell you about the time that I was at the a coffee shop at LA? A coffee shop. What am I saying? It was the La Brea Bakery at LAX.
It's a coffee shop of a kind.
It's a coffee shop of a kind. Calling it a coffee shop feels weird.
Airport pit stop.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And I was in line behind a woman who was trying to order a latte with like almond milk. And the dude behind the counter was just like, we have, regular or non-fat. And she says, you need to get with the times. People drink other kinds of milk now. Like he had any control over it.
Like he was the one making the milk decisions.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not the case, and he didn't need to be shouted at. So, but this people drink other kinds of milk now has lodged itself in my brain, and I will never forget it.
I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I talked about my husband watching me play Tetris 99.
Yeah.
And then just being like, I think I could do that. Ladies and gentlemen, he did.
Yay!
He finally made the plunge. I was playing last week, and he was like lying on the bed watching a show on his iPad. But he was like lying on his side and just watching me play Tetris and not really paying attention to the TV. And it was one of those things where you could just tell he was interested, but he just needed somebody to like give him the nudge.
Right. Was it one of those things where like you could feel like the little changes in like his muscles as like he saw you do something that he wouldn't do?
Exactly. And he was like making comments, and he was like watching really closely. I was like, do you want to try? He did like, no, I don't want. And then, okay, fine, I'll do it once. And then it was just really fun to watch somebody discover Tetris who had never played Tetris before in their life. So just like the simple joys of like playing Tetris and, getting a Tetris or making the lines disappear. It's kind of a brutal first Tetris experience.
Oh, totally.
Because you have 98 other people just gunning for you. But he liked it.
Oh, good. I'm glad that I'm glad that he gone back to it since, or was it a one time, one night?
I think if I booted it up for him, then he would play. But it's just so out of his routine. Like I don't even think it's something that he considers.
Yeah. I've also been playing Tetris 99 because I will never stop. That game right now reads 85 hours or more played on it. So it's going to be in my top games played on Switch. It may be my game of the generation. I don't know. It's so good. But I picked up Dragalia Lost again this week to play the Fire Emblem. There's a Fire Emblem crossover event. And it is very much a nonsense Fire Emblem story that involves Marth and some other Fire Emblem characters getting ripped into the world of Dragalia Lost.
Are they all cute, like chibi versions?
They are, but they're not quite as chibi as they are in Fire Emblem Heroes. So they look more like the Dragalia Lost characters, but it's not kind of all the way into like hyper chibiness. It because Dragalia Lost is what it is, it runs on its own system of like collectibles and its own like tokens. So you need to earn a certain number of Fire Emblem tokens to like buy your way into the next like story beats and the next like actual action missions. But it's I had forgotten that game is totally enjoyable. If just too chatty. Like the characters talk too much, and like in the story sections, there's so much writing in that game that feels like it doesn't need to be there. That characters are speaking just for the purpose of saying something and not actually to express something about the characters or about like the plot. So that's just regular Dragalia Lost complaint. But otherwise, it's fun to see some Fire Emblem characters in there, and I have only thus far battled them. It is my understanding that at some point they will also be mine, which is the reason that I did this, is that I want to get some Fire Emblem characters in my Dragalia Lost party.
So is the crossover kind of its own thing? Like if you haven't played before, if you played a little bit, but you've been doing the main story, can you jump right into the Fire Emblem stuff?
You can. So there are a couple of these that Dragalia Lost has done where it's like a separate event. So instead of just like clicking on or tapping on, like the regular story to continue the game, you go into the event, and there are like the story mode chapters, and some of the story mode chapters have set stats. So like it just sets the stats of your characters at like a fixed thing, so that like you're kind of just playing it for the experience of that. And so it like sets the difficulty exactly where it wants it to. And then there are always 3 different levels of like side stories that you can play, that you can choose from. So like right now I can go into either like the easy ones or the medium ones, but I could go into the more difficult ones if I wanted to, but I'd probably be beat. So it's interesting that they have all these different like options of ways for you to engage with Fire Emblem content, and that presumably that's what all of these like events are. I just since you and I played the week and a half or so after it came out, it's like I haven't really gone back to it, partially because it needs to connect and download and stuff all the time. But like it's a fun little time waster. I do like that game.
Yeah, I liked it a lot when I played. This sounds interesting. I might check it out.
Yeah, check it out. See if you can get some Fire Emblem characters in your party. All right, Mark, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, April 30th, Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age is released for Switch.
Amazing. Is this on your list of Final Fantasy games to play again at some point?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of like the modern Final Fantasy games, meaning
probably starting with 12, right? 12, 13, 15?
So I haven't played 15.
Hmm.
And I guess I was going to say there's really only 10 and 12 in like the PS2 era.
Yes.
But I like 12.
Yeah.
I like 12. And I assume that the Zodiac Age is like a good quality of life upgrade.
Yeah, and I wonder if there are like a bunch of other quality of life. I didn't look into what they changed in like the 10 and 10.2 HD remasters. Like I don't know if they added the same like speed up or like max level things that they did to 7 and 9. But yeah, we'll have to look into that and see what additions have been made to Final Fantasy 12.
Also today, Starlink Battle for Atlas has a Crimson Moon DLC, which is, I think Crimson Moon goes out on all the platforms.
Yes,
but
that's right.
The Switch version, of course, includes Star Fox DLC.
Which is the reason to play Starlink anyway. I mean, it's a fine game, but also it has Star Fox stuff in it. Now it'll have more Star Fox stuff in it.
And that's pretty much it for me for this week. Was there anything else on the list that was of interest to you?
Sort of ditto. Mormo's Curse is coming out on May 2nd, which I believe is Thursday. And then, yeah, some other stuff that I don't really... Hey, we don't always have to care about the new releases, right?
It's fine not to.
It's so fine. That's exactly what we're going to do. All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. And now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, you've requested today that we talk about impressions.
That's right.
Yeah, go.
Well, I was just going to ask, I feel like we've known each other for a number of years now.
Yeah.
But if somebody was like, can Patrick do like voice impressions?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have an answer to that. I think my answer would be, I don't know.
And similarly, I don't know if if you have, because I don't think either of us really go for voices.
No.
And we have seen each other perform a lot.
Yeah.
Some could argue that what the show is us performing at each other. But like we've seen each other on stage. We've been on stage together before.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us sort of just go to playing the character of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and even if we are going to play if one of us is going to play a woman or something, we'll just play them as we'll sound like ourselves, you know? So yeah, I mean, I don't really think that there are voices that I like to imitate sometimes, but I feel like that's just like an at home. It's not like an impression that I do.
Well, what's an example of a voice you'd like to imitate?
I don't know.
If you had to do an impression.
If I had to do an
impression,
impression,
somebody, what would you do?
See, I feel like there's no good way out of this because no matter what I say, the next thing will be
do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know that, like there was a time in my life when I felt like, and I feel like this is maybe just a guy thing, that I had a pretty good Gollum impression.
Oh,
which I feel like just all men have one, right? I don't know. What about you?
Well, I mean, first of all, do Gollum.
No.
Fine. No.
I already said I knew this was going to be a trap.
It's not really a trap.
It's
if
a
you
little
knew
bit
you
of a
were
trap.
doing it. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really do like accents or anything. If like gun to my head, I would be like, well, I can kind of do Kermit the Frog, kind of. Let's see. Let's try for. Can you do Chewbacca? Can you do Chewbacca?
I can. It sounds like Goat Boy.
Try. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's better than I don't think. Let's see if I can do Chewbacca.
Do a Chewbacca.
Okay.
All right. Now let's do Kermit's.
Okay. All right. Just a second. You have to like. I have to like position my like throat right. Okay. Let me try. No laughing. Let me try. Heidi ho.
Have I told you about this? That Sarah and I went through a phase where we really liked singing songs from Les Mis as Kermit the Frog.
Oh, is that because you saw the movie musical?
Of course. And Eddie Redmayne looks like Kermit the Frog. Yeah. Empty chairs at empty tables.
That's so good. That's perfect.
Oh, my friends, my friends.
That one's pretty good.
Thank you.
I feel like Stitch from like Lilo and Stitch.
That's close to the
is kind
Gollum
of back
voice
there.
too.
Oh, see, and I feel like it's like back there with the way I have to like position my jaw for to try to do Kermit.
Okay.
And it's like, hold on, I'm gonna try.
Yeah,
No laughing. Stitch.
That's pretty good.
Was that pretty good? I don't know if I can do more. Hold on, just a second.
Yeah.
Oh, Hannah. Okay, so that one's harder.
That one is a lot harder. There are some like lines that I like to do the impression. Like I like to say the line, but I like to do the impression of the character saying the lines.
Yeah.
Like the from Mad Men, the Don Draper. That's what the money was for.
Oh yeah, that's good.
When Ginsberg is like, I feel sorry for you, and he goes, I don't think about you at all.
That's good because it's all about like intonation.
Yeah. And, like attitude.
Yeah. What about like, I'm trying to think, Yoda. That's good.
Yeah, I mean it's just that's like a real back of the. But I didn't say anything. I just laughed.
Right. I mean, but that's like enough sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
To get by. What about accents? Can you do accents?
Nope.
Oh, I guess we'll.
I guess we'll never know. All right, Mark. Let's close out. Oh, jeez. I'm all turned around. Let's get into the news.
After months of anticipation, we finally learned what Persona 5S is. And it's not a port of the Atlas RPG for the Nintendo Switch.
What?
Instead, it's a musou game.
That means it's a Warriors game, a
Exactly.
Dynasty Warriors, a Hyrule Warriors,
a Fire Emblem Warriors.
Yes, and now a Persona Warriors, as it were.
It's a musou game featuring characters and locations from Persona 5. The game is called Persona 5 Scramble, The Phantom Strikers, and it will be coming to Switch and PlayStation 4.
Okay, so first,
Uh-huh.
are you disappointed?
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed here too.
I think it'd be, if I wanted to play Persona 5,
That's how you would play.
That's how I would play it.
Yeah. And also, if I were to play a musou game, this would be like the third or fourth one, right?
Right. I mean, on Switch alone.
Yes. So, I mean, it's kind of a bummer of an announcement. But I mean, if there are people, first of all, there are people who are excited about musou games, and people who love Persona 5 and just want more of it in whatever form they can. This is that for them.
So that's nice.
Sure.
Does this end rumors of I was going to say PS5, but Persona 5 on Switch?
I think if it doesn't end them, it certainly like tamps it down.
Yes, I think so.
I mean, especially because the last two things that were like Persona 5 related, Persona 5R and Persona 5S, were revealed to be, the Persona 5R is like another Persona 5 role-playing game just on Sony stuff. And then like S is a different style of game that comes to multiple platforms. I think that's just like, here's the pattern. The Persona 5 role-playing games come to Sony.
Yeah, do you think that is a like a contractual thing?
I think it must be, because that's actually true of, there have only been Persona games, or the mainline Persona games have only come to PlayStation platforms.
And if you're Atlas at this point, with as well as the Switch is selling worldwide, but especially Japan, like,
yeah, you would have made
want to.
Yeah, you would have made it happen already.
And if not Persona 5, you'd want to put like Persona 4 Golden or even
Persona 3, that like, or whatever the like beefed up version of that is called. Yeah, it seems like they would have already made their way over. And the fact that they haven't, I don't know. It kind of says to me that those are locked on Sony platforms.
And also for me personally, like the fact that it's a musou game, of all potential spin-offs,
yeah,
this is like maybe the one that I would be least interested in. If they're between like a rhythm game or a fighting game, or a musou game, like I know I'm not picking up the musou game.
Right. Yeah, that is absolutely true. And also, like, especially if you haven't played the game yet, like, what's the point?
Yeah. Nintendo had their financial year-end investors meeting last week. It's a meeting intended for investors, so usually don't get a ton of like game announcements or news out of it.
So let's dig into it.
But you know what? Here's some highlights.
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch Online now has nearly 10 million subscribers, and about 2.8 million of them have played Tetris 99. I'm not going to lie, that feels low to me.
It feels low to me too, but that's also, the game's only been out for not that long, and the fact that like 3 million people have played it is pretty cool.
Yeah. Sales from digital software are up about 100% from last year, which was about 100% above the previous year. So Nintendo's digital sales have skyrocketed in the past 2 years.
Yeah, which, I guess with Switch Online being a part of that, it seems like Nintendo has to... One of the things that I say all the time on the show is that Nintendo is not a technology company. They're like an entertainment company. They make games. They don't make the technology that, like, they're not Sony. They're not Microsoft.
Their strong suit.
But they're seeing so much evidence of their money coming in from solely digital products. I wonder if that starts to make them like look at what the business is any differently. Yeah, that's it. It's just so much of the revenue has been coming from the all digital side.
Yeah, I mean, they are still far, far, far behind like the amount of digital revenue that Sony brings in from PlayStation 4.
Sure.
But also I think...
I mean, there are 100 million PlayStation 4s out there in the wild right now.
No, that's true. But even just like as a percentage of sales.
Sure.
And I think some of that is because Nintendo does a lot of business in Japan, where digital sales are just in general lower than in the West. But I also think it's just because Nintendo is so far behind in doing the kind of online promotion and making it easy to buy games on the eShop I mean, it was only the last generation that you were able to get every digital release, every release of a Nintendo first-party game as like a digital release on day one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go, because Nintendo is definitely not. They're like beginning to dip their toes into this idea of like a Nintendo version of games as a service.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see how that evolves.
Yeah, it will be.
Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa shared an interesting slide that showed the most common first games played on a new Switch console, thus implying which games were driving hardware sales.
Makes sense.
26% was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Which, crazy, by the way. That
more than a quarter.
Yeah, nuts.
16% Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Good choice.
13% Pokemon Let's Go. 11% Zelda Breath of the Wild. 8% Super Mario Odyssey. 6% Super Mario Party. And 5% New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Is it weird that people were picking up more people were getting Super Mario Party than were getting New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe as their first game?
I don't think necessarily, because Super Mario Party came out before Christmas.
That's true.
And just like had a longer sales period.
Sure, and it's only 1% different.
To me, I think the one that stands out as the most remarkable is how much Zelda Breath of the Wild has kind of become the mascot game for the Nintendo Switch. That game blew up. Like, I don't know Zelda game since Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, totally.
Has blown up, or like taken over like the cultural mindshare for so long that even like it is seemingly selling better than Super Mario Odyssey at this point in both their lives, which just seems totally bonkers to me. But awesome, because I love that game.
Yeah, me too. And I do also think it is remarkable how high the percentage is on Smash Brothers Ultimate. Like, I know that people love Smash, and like that they were holding out until like, well, I can wait to get a Switch until there's Smash. But like, I don't know. For me, that felt like I can imagine a person like that, but I don't know that I knew anyone like that. But this is evidence that, maybe a quarter of all Switch owners are in fact like that.
And it also shows Nintendo must have been disappointed that the game wasn't able to be released until early December.
Yeah.
Because think if it had come out in like October or September, there's just so much more selling time in their fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
Furukawa may have hinted about the gameplay of Pokemon Sword and Shield. He said, quote, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee are designed to highlight the fun of Nintendo Switch in TV mode. For example, by waving the controller at the TV screen to capture Pokemon. Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield are being developed to emphasize the fun of playing Nintendo Switch in handheld mode. We want these games to be played not only by longtime Pokemon fans, but also by consumers whose first encounter with the series was on a dedicated video game platform with Pokemon Let's Go.
Okay, so basically to break this down, he was saying that Let's Go was designed for you to play on your TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why there's all the motion control stuff, why you can play with like the little ball and all that, and that Pokemon Sword and Shield are not that.
Which kind of makes sense, because Pokemon Sword and Shield are more traditional Pokemon experiences, which previously have been on handheld, and so, battling with people when you're just like the local multiplayer aspect of Pokemon requires a handheld experience.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense to me that they're emphasizing that in the more traditional version.
Yeah. And we'll actually get to a note about the 3DS later in the news here. But I do think it's interesting that 2019 is sort of the year that the Switch is the 3DS. We just got a BoxBoy game. We've got a mainline Pokemon game coming out, Fire Emblem, and Animal Crossing that are all due out this year.
Well, and not just that, but there have been reports from Nikkei and the Wall Street Journal, and now just one from Bloomberg, saying that a more like portable, child-friendly version of the Switch is coming, and according to Bloomberg, it's coming before the end of June.
Right, but it is also not supposed to be shown off at E3. Is something else that Nintendo was saying. My point is, all of these software, these are all like franchises that are cornerstones of the 3DS market, and they are all appearing on the Switch this year. Whereas the last 2 years have been dominated by like a novelty Pokemon game, which a lot of those come to console. Smash, Zelda, and Mario, and that all makes sense as console experiences. And this is like finally the year that we're seeing the portable experiences really coming to Switch.
BoxBoy.
Yeah, BoxBoy.
When talking about Labo, Furukawa shied away from giving specific sales numbers, but instead focused on the awards Labo has won and the drops in price, quote, so that even more consumers can enjoy the series. Poor Labo. I think
Poor Labo.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, and I think it is like cool and has many interesting applications. But I can see where he's got to spin it like, oh yeah, we can drop the price so it can get in more consumers' hands, which really just means we couldn't sell it at the price that we had originally marketed it at.
Furukawa reminded investors of the first-party releases for the remainder of the year, broken down by release period. So in spring, he called out Nintendo Labo VR and Super Mario Maker 2. In summer, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Fire Emblem Three Houses and Astral Chain.
Yes.
And we also got confirmation that the Avengers game is coming out in July. So that also falls in
the Avengers
summer.
game or the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3?
I, of course, meant Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
There we go. The Black Order.
In winter, Pokemon Sword and Shield. And sometime in 2019, Luigi's Mansion 3 is coming. Animal Crossing is coming. They included on the slide with the subtitle, latest in the series. And Link's Awakening is also due for 2019. He also mentioned that there are games that have yet to be announced that are coming this year.
Yeah. And is there anything missing from this list? I noticed that the town, or just town, which is that
Game Freak RPG,
Game Freak RPG that takes place all in one village, and Bayonetta 3 were not included in there. But a little note about Bayonetta's release date: if you go to Nintendo's website, it is no longer listed. The release window no longer listed as 2019. It now just says TBD.
I didn't realize it was ever listed for 2019.
It was for a little while, and no announcement about it or any statement that it's been delayed, but it just now reads as TBD.
Furukawa also stressed continuing support for games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Mario Tennis Aces.
Very good. Keep supporting that stuff.
He also brought up a good variety of third-party software coming to the platform. Quote, these will range from evergreen titles for video game fans to titles that can be enjoyed by anyone, regardless of age or gender. Characteristic titles created by indie developers, a variety of genre-specific games, and more. So lots of words to say, not very much.
But notably not saying all of the newest and most high-tech. He is conveniently leaving out that, most AAA third-party games are not coming to Switch. Although I guess Mortal Kombat is there, so I don't.
What more do you want?
What more do I want?
The number of dev kits sent to game makers has outpaced all previous Nintendo platforms at this point.
Which is exciting. People got to get on that Switch Gold.
Yeah, absolutely. The mobile game business is still going strong, with revenues increasing over the previous year. Still a tiny fraction of Nintendo's overall revenue. But with Dr. Mario World coming early summer 2019 and Mario Kart Tour coming later in the summer, Nintendo will have a total of 6 mobile games on the market. Speaking of Mario Kart Tour, if you have an Android phone, you can sign up for a closed beta test by going to MarioKartTour.com. The beta begins May 21st.
But you and me, with our iPhones,
yeah,
we can't do it.
Left out in the cold.
Look, if that means that we get to play a beta of Dr. Mario World at some point,
I don't think that's what. I don't think they're going to try to.
It's a one-for-one trade.
Equity. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Super Mario Run came first to Apple platforms, so
yeah.
All right.
Fair is fair. Nintendo is continuing to implement a variety of initiatives to expand the reach of Nintendo IP. Furukawa cited a recent partnership with Uniqlo to sell T-shirts as an example.
By matter of coincidence, I am wearing a Uniqlo Nintendo T-shirt right now. It's got little boos on the pocket.
It's very cool.
You can say cute. That's fine.
I mean, it's both. It's both. It's both.
Thank you.
One thing that wasn't part of the Nintendo investors briefing was the 3DS.
Yes.
In last year's presentation, Nintendo mentioned that they would continue the 3DS business and that was on the heels of announcing first-party games like Luigi's Mansion and WarioWare Gold.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, that's interesting that even then was sort of a like half commitment of continuing the 3DS business. Doesn't mean that they've like aggressively got plans for whatever, and especially when Luigi's Mansion is a remake of a GameCube game, and WarioWare Gold is amazing. It is essentially a compilation of a bunch of WarioWare games, and like not a brand new title really.
Kotaku reached out to Nintendo for comment on the 3DS's omission and got the following comment, quote, "We have nothing new to announce regarding first-party software for the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. We can confirm that new software is coming from third-party publishers."
Ooh. So it's dead, right?
Yeah, I think so. We know Persona Q2 is coming pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
it.
all I can think of.
Yeah. Are there others?
Not that I know of. But, yeah. And all the Nintendo ones have been released, right? Like Kirby's Epic Yarn was like the last one.
Yeah, there are no unreleased announced Nintendo 3DS games.
I mean, I think it makes sense then for them to move aggressively to like position a version of the Switch as that portable device.
I mean, like I said, it's already happening with the software. We're seeing the 3DS library show up on Switch instead of on 3DS.
An interesting side note, as part of the updates that allowed for VR functionality, both Super Mario Odyssey and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild have been seeing reduced load times.
Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Really neat. There was I saw a video on Game Explain where they showed they like ran the two versions of the games next to each other before and after the update, and Mario Odyssey's load times are like 20 to 30% faster depending on what you're doing, and some of the load times in Breath of the Wild have been cut in half, especially like when teleporting around the map or even just loading into the game. So that's super cool.
Yeah, my understanding of what they did is basically during loading screens on those games, they're allowing the CPU to run at a higher clock speed than they normally do. So they call it like boost mode. So when it's loading, they allow the CPU to go into boost mode, which means it can process faster. Yeah. And then as soon as the loading is finished, it goes back to the regular clock speed. So it's an interesting way to like, it allows them to improve the experience without burning through battery.
Yeah, without taxing the system for too long. Well, and especially like if it's working harder for those seconds that it's loading, it's like cutting down on the amount of time that it's doing that. So yeah, that seems like a good trade-off for battery purposes.
So we knew Super Mario Maker 2 was coming this June, but last week Nintendo announced a specific release date, June 28th.
So they're calling that spring?
I
mean, just
that's true. I guess it's the very early summer.
Yeah. That's all. I just thought that was we just
want no. I think that's fair.
Yeah, the Nintendo saying the game's coming out in spring, and then they're like, also it's June 28th.
Yeah, get the SEC on them.
Yeah, I will.
That was an investor call. They lied. In Europe and Japan, they have announced a interesting pre-order bonus, a stylus.
Yeah,
that you can use. I guess with more precision on the Switch's screen than just dragging your finger around. The US, they didn't even bother. They're like, those animals, they're just going to like pound on the Switch screen like a monkey's anyways. So why give them the tools?
They're just going to pull out Sharpies and just draw whatever on their Switch screen.
The stylus is available with a digital pre-order. Also available in the Super Mario Maker 2 limited edition bundle, which includes, with the game and the stylus, a 12-month subscription to Nintendo Switch Online. And none of that has been announced for North America yet.
Nope, North Americans cannot have it. Have you seen the stylus? It's got like a little Mario
it's
and
cute.
His building thing on it. Building hat, I guess, and overalls and whatnot. If this becomes available here, I'm going to get it because I want that stylus.
It seems like it would be a perfect Best Buy pre-order bonus.
Totally.
They do those all the time.
Yeah. Well, and I with Super Mario Odyssey, I pre-ordered from Best Buy. and I got a weird little gold coin with it.
Yeah, and so the stylus will look adorable next to that weird little gold coin.
Oh my gosh. Do I even know where the gold coin is?
I can bet $5. You don't.
I'll take that bet.
Okay.
I think I can narrow it down to a space of like one cubic foot.
Oh, that's pretty good. I thought you were
apartment.
going to say like one room, and it was going to be like that.
There
Does
only
not impress me.
2 rooms in my apartment. No, I think it's with the amiibo.
Mario Tennis Aces special demo is currently available on the Switch eShop until this Friday, May 3rd. The demo allows access to a bunch of different game modes, and you can even unlock Mario's classic overalls by completing. I did that like 3 times.
That's
I
wrote it poorly.
Completing 1 match in an online tournament this week. Also, anyone who downloads the demo gets an email with a code to activate 7 days of Nintendo Switch Online.
It's okay. This is where we run into questions. I don't know. Normally, if you buy more Nintendo Switch Online or have a promotional code to get more Nintendo Switch Online, that stacks. So I wanted to try, like, it will stack on your current
subscription.
Thank you. And so I wanted to download the demos to see if I could do it, but it knows that I already have the full game, so it wouldn't let me download the demo.
Demo is for demo fans only.
That's right. Demo is not for full game fans. But so if you haven't already purchased or played Mario Tennis Aces and you do want to give it a shot, you can't beat free. And frankly, if you have one like solid evening to sink into it, you'll have a really solid idea of whether you want to continue with this game or if it's not for you.
And finally, you know how in Mario 64, Bowser, or when Mario fights Bowser, he grabs him by the tail, spins him around, and tosses him into the explosive, like, spiky balls.
I do know this, yes.
Well, on the last big throw, Mario says something that is just completely unintelligible, and it's a mystery that just been confounding people for years. And this week on Twitter, Mario voice actor Charles Martinet confirmed that the phrase Mario says is "So long, Kinga Bowser."
No, this is Kinga. And he wrote it out. Kinga. Kinga Bowser.
Are you saying that it should actually be written "So long, King Bowser," but because Mario has a thick Italian accent, he says it as Kinga?
I don't know. And also, if that is what it is, I would almost assume that the A would be a part of Bowser.
Right.
Kinga Bowser.
Right. No, that's what you did.
So long, Kinga Bowser. Is that an impression I can do?
Wait, but I'm confused because you said the A would be part of the Bowser.
Right, so I'm saying King a Bowser.
Oh, of course. You're not saying that
King
it would be
Bowser. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge, a Society. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like this episode, please share it on Facebook or Twitter. All of that helps us a lot.
Yeah, do you know what? We are on the Apple Podcast Store in the U.S.
Yes.
We're at 72 reviews last I checked.
Whoa.
How cool would it be to get to 100 by the time E3 comes around?
That would be great. Let's show those E3. Oh, is this news? We're going to E3.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mark and I will both be walking around the E3 show floor, doing finger guns at people and being like, hey, what's up? Let us play your game. And we'll walk into whatever Nintendo's booth is and wait in a line. I'm looking forward to it, Mark.
It's what we do best.
But yeah, let's get to 100 reviews before then. That's a good goal. So review us on Apple Podcasts in the States.
Or wherever you get
it.
Yeah, I mean, they help us wherever you are
exactly.
reviewing the show.
You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MK Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. You can check out the Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.
fire.